Am I the a-hole for ruining my sister's honeymoon? Plus updates. Original post. Mom and Dad got divorced when my sisters Sam and I were 13 and 10. That was 12 years ago. My father was a cheater and still is, on to his fourth marriage. Mom met her boyfriend George a year after the divorce, but she kept it a secret and didn't introduce him to us until 2 years later, until she was sure that he was the one. That was the time I have seen my mother the happiest in a relationship. She's always been a happy and bubbly person. Sam hated George with all her might, because she loves my father very much and he was very heartbroken that Mom moved on. He even attempted on his own life. My sister never forgave my mom for it and threatened to cut contact if my mom didn't dump her boyfriend. My mom did. Afterwards, my mom was very depressed and down, but my sister and dad were happy. Then my sister left for college a few months later. I know for a fact that my mom started seeing her boyfriend again a year ago. She's been happy again. My sister got married last weekend. Yesterday, we had a lunch before she and her husband were to leave for their honeymoon. When I arrived, she was a bit down. Apparently, she asked Mom to join us, but Mom declined. So she opened up saying that since Mom dumped her boyfriend, she has been very distant and cold with my sister. Never rude or mean or angry, just cold. If she asked her anything or needed something, Mom would be there for her, like when my sister had severe COVID. But other than that, she never contacted my sister on her own volition. My sister was telling me that maybe Mom never will be happy again because of her ending her relationship. I told her not to worry about it because they're still seeing each other behind our backs, and that Mom seemed very happy. My sister was shocked, and she started yelling in the middle of the restaurant and started trying to call Mom to ask her. Then she called me an a-hole for never telling her before now. I just never thought it was a secret that I was hiding. Just a private matter. And I thought my sister knew too. Because how couldn't she realize that Mom has been happy again and have been going for weekend getaways? My sister is now demanding that Mom break up with her boyfriend or she would go no contact. And I feel like the a-hole for everything, including miscalculating that my sister still has the same stand. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not the a-hole. Your sister is overreacting. Not everything is about her. You didn't ruin her honeymoon. I feel like it is my mistake to start this again. My mom told my sister that she is an adult now and free to go no contact. Now my sister thinks my mom and I are a-holes. You cannot govern your life worrying about how your sister is going to react. You spoke the fact. You had no intention of malice. Sis ought to be able to handle this information without making a scene. Info. What did her partner think? I don't know. I haven't spoken to any of them since. And he wasn't at the lunch. You're the a-hole for telling your sister that your mom is dating, instead of calling her out on her crappy hypocritical behavior deeply hurting your mom. It's okay for dad to go through 4 marriages, but mom has to stay single the rest of her life? Your sister doesn't love her mother much, does she? I'd be pretty distant and cold to the daughter who's okay with a cheating father, but not okay with mom moving on. Your mom should cut contact with your selfish sister. But nah, you aren't the a-hole for upsetting your sister. She should feel guilty for hurting your mom so deeply. Thank you for your comment. I agree with everything. This, not the a-hole. Your sister is a manipulative narc in her attempt to weaponize going no contact to force your mom to split with someone who makes her happy. Don't you dare let her try to ruin your mom's life. Lesson learned. Don't share anything about your mom to her again. Now for the first update. So my mom and George are getting married and none of us is invited. Just some of their closest friends and George's children and their parents. They're getting married in September and moving to another city. She sent my sister a letter telling her that this time she was the one who is asking for no contact. That she has done her job now and raised 2 well-adjusted and happy daughters. And she believes her duties have been fulfilled. Now we are adults, my mom wants space and peace now, and she will not be dragged into more drama. That she wishes my sister to stop being like her father, believing all people are her property and puppets. And after that, she can take the same amount of time to reflect. Then they could maybe reconsider their relationship. So if it takes you 5 years to be a decent human, then take another 5 years to make sure and reflect. Then maybe we can consider reconnecting. Until then, I wish you the best life, but I don't want to be a part of it. She didn't write any letter to me and told me that we could always keep in touch. We talk 5 to 7 times a week, and I am welcome to visit and stay with her and her husband anytime I wanted. Not sure how to feel. My sister is the one who hurt her, and yet she only decided to move on once she made sure my sister was happily married. But what about me? I think your mom has sacrificed enough for you and especially your sister. She deserves happiness. She's not going low contact with you. She shouldn't have to wait for you to get married for anything. It sounds like both you and your sister, but especially your sister, are so used to your mom sacrificing herself for the two of you that you just expect. How about instead of expecting that, you support your mom for a change? Call her, tell her you love her and support her and want her to be happy. Ask if you can be there to support her when she gets married. Tell her that you want to be there for her and with her on her special day. OP, do this. You sound redeemable. Not your sister who seems to be a retread of your father. You clearly need to think hard about your relationship with your mother, and it's clear that she doesn't trust you with her relationship with George. For good reason. Your mother seems like the person you need to try to invest in. If you work hard and keep your mouth shut, she may let you in. The last sentence is key. Keep your mouth shut. Do not pass on any info about your mom and wedding to sister if you get it. It will be a betrayal to your mom. Show your mom you can be trusted and you are on her side. Good on your mom for doing what was right for her and being firm in her boundaries. What a terrible toxic situation. An emotionally manipulative serial cheater of an ex-husband. Daughter that gave her an ultimatum to cut out a new partner that made her happy. The same daughter that after all this time still won't allow her mother to be happy with someone new while your father is on his fourth marriage. Unbelievable. Talk about double standards. Her reaction sounded pretty over the top as it was. I think it makes sense your mom cut her out now that she's married. And it sounds like she wants her relationship with you. Nothing's changed on that front. I don't know if I understand your last question. What did you mean by what about you? She isn't waiting for you to get married, nor does it sound like she plans on going no contact. My sister is now demanding that my mother leave her estate to us because it was my dad's money anyway, and trying to contact lawyers about that. I honestly don't blame my mom, and I don't want anything to do with her or my dad. My dad is raging too, saying how he loved mom and she never forgiven him. And honestly, he says that she is cheating on him even now, and acting all heartbroken. Your sister and father are delusional. Cheating on him? That's rich. It's her money regardless of what your sister thinks. I would join your mother in going no contact with them. If you talk to mom 5 to 7 times a week, can you not ask her why she's similarly excluding you? Did you copy any of your sister's behavior? You also need to apologize for using her personal life as gossip for the family, or as a tool to get your sister agitated. No, I did not, but I kept away from both sister and father and didn't have an opinion. I am already low contact with both my father and sister, almost no contact with my father since he cheated. Last update. We have talked and she honestly was scared to invite me and not my sister because she didn't want to hurt my sister or make her feel she favored me. So I got very upset and told her that I have always paid for my sister's mistakes. She is the problem, that I am treated equally to her not to offend her when I have always loved and supported her. I knew she was seeing her future husband and was happy for her. She started crying and she apologized. So now I am invited to her wedding. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my brother $200,000 from our parents' inheritance after he got scammed? I, 34 male, recently inherited $400,000 from our parents' estate after they passed away. There was a slight delay in my part in receiving the said amount because of some legal complications. My younger brother, 31 male, received the same amount, but just months after their death. And he was swindled out of nearly all his life savings by a shady investment scheme. Now he's asking me to share $200,000 of my inheritance with him to help him get back on his feet. He argues that our parents would have wanted us to have equal financial standing and that losing his money wasn't his fault. Yeah, right. And that he'd pay me back all later. I feel terrible for him, but I don't think it's fair to give up half of my inheritance for a mistake he made, no matter how unfortunate. I've been working hard, budgeting, and planning to use this money for my family's future. If I give him half, it puts my own financial security at risk. My wife supports my decision, but some relatives think I'm being greedy and heartless, saying family comes first. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not a-hole. Your parents did put you in equal financial standing. Exactly, the bro messed it up. He's gotta sleep in the bed he made. Bro doesn't get extra bonus points for stupidity in life. It's best he learns that now. Stupidity can't be fixed. It's forever. He'd probably do the same thing all over again. Every action has consequences. He's reaping the consequences of his actions. Sucks to be him, not the a-hole. If he had taken his $400 and immediately doubled it in his investment scheme, would he have given you $200 so that you would both have even financial standing like your parents would have wanted? Your parents did provide you with equal financial standards. What they apparently fell short on isn't providing you with equal intellectual standing. Your brother is an idiot first for blowing $400,000, and second, thinking it should be your problem. Probably also third for thinking that he's going to take the $200,000 and somehow be able to turn it back into $400,000 so he can pay you back. Not the a-hole. Tell the relatives who called you greedy and heartless that you let your brother know that they'll be giving him money to get back on his feet. Not the a-hole. His bad decisions, his problem. I just did that. Thank you so much for the idea. Now for the first update. Wow, this blew up. I didn't think I need online strangers to knock sense into me. Also, it's funny how quickly someone can go from calling every hour to a direct block. I called my brother and asked him what exactly happened, and told him I'd only give him the money if he told me the truth, and only the truth. He told me he invested in a company called Aramco, obviously not the real one, to a sheik, and paid his deposit of $10,000 the first time, where he got back $20,000. Then he began scaling up and always got doubled, until $100K. He got back $110K, then was emboldened and invested $300K, and was guaranteed $600K, and the rest is history. He made a police report but had no evidence to share, as he withdrew in cash and dealt in cash itself, taking only token receipts which were fake. He kept the previously gotten amount in cash in his house. I only came to know how stupid someone can get. I told him his lack of basic common sense and greed does not constitute grounds for charity on my part, and told him to take better care of the remaining $100K. He cussed me out and told me I disappointed my parents. As for my relatives, I told them all in a group chat that I'd only match whatever they would pay to my brother, and even offered to double it, since I was so greedy and wanted to prove them wrong. Thanks to a legendary commenter who suggested that. I love you. I was cussed out there too. Lol. They're all blocked now. They told me the money got into my head. Sorry for not replying to the comments. I was really weakening in my resolve not to pay him, and you guys just snapped me back. Thank you. You all saved me. Not the a-hole. I was already on the side of not the a-hole before the edit. But geez, he's just trying to scam you. He wants $200K when he already has $100K plus left in the bank? If you sent the money, you would have $200K and you would have $300K plus. How is that equal financial standing? What an a-hole. I was very close to helping him out and being an a-hole to myself. Thanks to the sub. Second update. He called again. So after blocking my brother and pesky relatives and thinking the drama was over, he found another way to get to me. He called through my wife. Turns out, things are even worse than he originally told me. That $100,000 he had left is all going toward paying off loans and a car he financed, so he's basically left with nothing. He finally admitted how desperate he is, apologized for not being fully honest earlier and being a douche and cussing me out. He said he realizes he messed up big time. Greed got the better of him, and I was asking for $50,000 instead of the $200,000, promising to pay me back eventually. He even said he'd appreciate whatever help I could offer if I couldn't give the full amount. Yes, I asked him about the previous increments he received. Turns out he actually invested $350,000. The desperation in his voice was palpable. But honestly, I'm done with him. He wasn't always this reckless or stupid. Maybe I was wrong, but the guy I'm dealing with now is a complete mess. Thanks to you all who made me see that. His greed and lack of financial knowledge are his own doing, and I'm not about to bail him out. Lastly, thank you to all of you who took time to help me realize the massive blunder I was about to commit. You guys saved my finances, and quite possibly my life. I'm grateful to all of you. Last story. Am I the a-hole for asking someone to stop coming to my house uninvited? My wife gave her brother a key to our house. I routinely go to my house on my lunch break, and many times have found my brother-in-law at my house uninvited. No one else is home, but he comes to my house and eats my food for lunch. A couple weeks ago, I had a 14-hour day at work, a Thursday, and I had to be in the field for a construction project. On Friday, I was struggling at the office and decided to call it today, so I could go home and rest. When I arrived at home, there was my brother-in-law. I was exhausted and really not in the mood for a guest. Later that day, I texted and told him that I wasn't comfortable with his unannounced visits and asked him not to do it anymore. I told him he was welcome at my house, but I wanted to know when he would be there and that I need boundaries. He seemed cordial with his text response, but I have caused a civil war. My wife is mad at me and so is her other sibling and parents. They said that I'm weird and don't understand how siblings work. In my opinion, it is weird and rude to act like one has carte blanche to someone else's house and food. Am I the a-hole? Is your wife's family from another culture or possibly planet? They sound very different. I would go crazy if I found a family member of mine in my house without being invited, especially if they were eating my food. That key needs to be revoked or change the locks if wifey refuses. Not the a-hole. Yes, she is Mexican-American. Her brother is the only boy and as such has entitlements within the family. Maybe his family, but definitely should not be yours. Her normal meter is broken. That is not normal. Yes, I agree. I have felt like I am crazy from all the pushback from my wife and her family. Nope, she is wrong. That is not normal at all. He can go hang at his mom's house and eat her food. It's time to pull out the machismo card and tell your wife that you married her and not her brother. But that can change if she refuses to support your boundaries. If someone was coming into my house when I wasn't home, they would 100% lose their key privileges. Absolutely no way would I tolerate that. The first time I came home and found it let himself in without asking, I'd have gone ballistic and taken the key off him. Agree, a key isn't an open invitation to use the house as your own. It's a sign they trust you if you were to ever need it. Yes, my family all have our house's key the same. My dad is a locksmith and set it up the way so that any of us could help each other in an emergency. But none of us, parents or siblings, even adult nieces and nephews now, have ever violated that by going into another's home without asking or being asked to. Correct. If you are entering my home uninvited and unannounced, eating my food and laying around like you live there, then you are paying me rent, utilities, and grocery money. My wife can move back home or in with her sibling if they cannot understand. Am I the a-hole for laughing at my former stepmom and saying she is getting what she deserves? I'm 16 female, by the way. Parents got divorced since they got married young and grew apart. Dad got remarried and had more kids, and my mom did not. My stepmom and dad got divorced, which was amazing because my stepmom insisted on me not having my own room, since I apparently don't live there except for every other weekend, but her kids do. She obviously favored them and made it clear that she loved me less, and told me what to do even though it was not her right. She always told me that growing up with divorced parents and step-parents is normal, and that I played victim. Now, my dad and mom are getting remarried after reconnecting as older people. My former stepmom is freaking out about it. It is all like, "You won't last," and talking about the kids my dad and she had together. I laughed at her and told her that she shouldn't be so worried if she thinks the way she treated me was okay. I told her that my mom was 100 times the person she would ever be, and that she would be a great stepmom unlike her. I told her that her kids would have bedrooms and not be treated like less. I also told her that she should stop playing victim. She then cried and said, "I don't understand." So I was wondering if I'm being an a-hole because I am getting what I want, and there was no need to rub it in. Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole. A lot of step-parents have blinders on and take no accountability. She sounds like one of them. I would suggest to keep your distance going forward, however, for your own sake. I totally am determined to make it as easy on my half-siblings as possible. You are very solidly not a-hole territory here. You and your mom are going to show your stepmom how it is supposed to be done. Not a-hole. Even though my stepson was only with us on school holidays due to living far away, he still has his own bedroom. Why would you make a kid feel like they don't belong in what is supposed to be their family? It really messes you up. You are a good step-parent. Thank you so much for your compliment. And that's why we always try to have a bedroom for him. Not always possible when we lived in a 3-bedroom house. He shared with his brother and our daughters shared a room. But as soon as we moved to a bigger house, the girls shared a room and the boys each got their own room. Because even though he was with us so little of the year, he still was part of the family and should have his own space with his own things in it. And from other comments I read from you, you are a good sibling and will make sure your siblings are treated right, and your mom will be a good stepmom. Not stay home. If that's how you feel, then you have a right to express it. Let her reflect on her behavior. Like, I literally get how hard it's gonna be on my half-siblings. I lived through it, so I would never make them feel even worse. My mom knows how their mom treated me and how it made me feel, and she would never be the same. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not sticking up for my grandmother after my wife told her to F off out of her hospital room? About 3 weeks ago, my wife, 33, went into premature labor with our daughter at 31 weeks. It was entirely unexpected, and both my wife and our daughter had a horrible time, and it became quite dangerous for the both of them. My wife became preeclamptic among other serious complications, and for the first week, we weren't even sure if either my wife or our daughter would make it. Luckily, they both survived, but our daughter is still in the NICU after 3 weeks, and probably will be in for another 3, and my wife is still in the hospital as well. It has been a horrible struggle for my wife. Before this, she was a very healthy and active person, and even during most of her pregnancy, she was able to maintain a somewhat active lifestyle. But because of the trauma her body went through, she is basically starting back from square one and hasn't even been able to hold our daughter yet. My wife has had a lot of struggle so far with her birth trauma and feels so confused and hurt by her experience. She told me that she feels betrayed by her own body. And even in some of her weakest moments, she even said she regretted getting pregnant entirely because of how much she has suffered. And she is so worried she'll never be the person she was again. She feels horrible for having these feelings, but multiple mental health professionals have been working to help and support her through this. We finally have reached a point where we can receive visitors. Her family lives close, but my family lives 3 states away and have been waiting the chance to meet the baby and check in on my wife. My parents and grandparents flew down, and I warned my family beforehand that my wife and daughter are still at a very fragile stages, and to be patient. When I brought them in to see my wife, my grandmother immediately went and wanted to talk to her about the birth and her experience. My wife told her that it was one of the worst experiences of her life, and my grandmother responded by telling her that the worst is yet to come, and that struggling is what being a mother is about. My wife got very upset over this comment and started screaming at her to F off and to get the heck out. I had never seen my wife like this, and I could tell she was feeling extremely stressed, and I quickly escorted my family out. I told them it would be best if they leave for now and we could talk later as not to cause even more stress on my wife. My family said they were appalled by my wife's behavior and me for not defending my grandmother. But at the end of the day, I feel that it is my responsibility to be my wife's advocator all of the time, but especially now. It has become a bit of a tension in my extended side of the family, however, but I haven't told my wife about it because I don't want to stress her out, and I plan to deal with this alone entirely. Should I apologize on my wife's behalf? If I am the a-hole, I'll own up to it, but I don't see my wife as an a-hole at all. Should I apologize on my wife's behalf? No. They had one job, but your grandmother just had to swoop in without outdated mentality and tell a woman who's gone through hell and back the worst is yet to come and that struggling is what being a mother is about. Who the hell tells someone in your wife's position that? Not the a-hole, but you will be if you apologize to them for their appalling behavior. The baby barely made it. No part of parenting is worse than when your kid is in serious danger. None of it. Hopefully that is as close as you will ever come to losing your baby, and thus parenting will never get worse. Only a monster would say differently. Grandma was so swept up in being all-knowing and looking down on y'all that she couldn't see the tragedy in front of her. Yep, Grandma was totally apathetic. His wife and baby almost died. She's had kids of her own. She should know that even the easiest births aren't sunshine and rainbows. I hope he's 100% not a-hole, and honestly, I think he should keep his entire family away from his wife and baby for the next few months. She needs time to heal from this trauma and needs people who will love her and support her. Opie, you're doing great being there for your wife. Don't let your family near her again anytime soon. Not stay Hall times 1000. You stood up for your wife in her most vulnerable state. That was ridiculously rude of your grandmother. Do not apologize to them for your wife. If anything, you should ask them to apologize to her. Thank you for having a shiny spine and protecting your wife and baby. This exactly. It's so exceptionally rare on here to find a story about a man who defends his wife to his family and prioritizes her first. It's amazing. Absolutely did the right thing. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for being too close to my ex-husband? 6 years ago, I got divorced from my now ex-husband. There was no drama that led to this. We simply realized we were no longer happy or in love, so it would have been a clean break if not for the fact we had a daughter who is now 11. Neither of us wanted to lose full custody of her or miss important moments in her life. She's the most important person in both our lives, and we debated on trying to make it work just for her, but realized that would only lead to all three of us becoming miserable. So we entered an arrangement that many would view as unconventional. When we sold our house, we used the money to buy 2 semi-detached houses that were joined and had a door installed between them. The construction company tried to warn us against this as it would affect resale value, but neither of us had any intention to sell, so we had them to go ahead with it. We also had them take down the fence between both our back gardens so our daughter would have an extra large back garden to play in. Many of you balk at the door, but there is an arrangement. It is strictly for our daughter's use and neither of us can use it barring any emergency, say a fire, a medical emergency or something being wrong with our daughter. She has 2 bedrooms, 1 in each house, and every day she can pick where she wants to have breakfast, dinner, and sleep. I won't lie, it was awkward at first, but for her sake we made it work and even regained a lot of the friendship we had lost, though it was of course strictly platonic now. Last year, my ex-husband married his girlfriend of 3 years, a lovely woman who I'm actually friends with, and I was even a guest at their wedding with my daughter being one of her bridesmaids. All in all, it's an arrangement everyone is content with, except for my boyfriend who I started to date 2 years ago. He understood the arrangement entering into the relationship, and while I said it was a bit weird, he never protested. It all seemed well. Things are getting more serious, and we've been discussing moving in together. And he has made it clear he wants me to move as he doesn't want to live next door to my ex-husband. I understood that, but told him that wouldn't be happening as my daughter had to come first, and our arrangement gave her a stable upbringing. He got upset with me and asked me how he was supposed to be a father to my daughter when she already had a dad, and he was literally a wall away. I won't lie, this took me by surprise as I had no idea he wanted to be a father to her. I told him gently but firmly that he wasn't her father, that she already had one, and that even her father's wife didn't try to be a mother. Instead, she is called by her name. I told him if he wants some kind of familial title, he could be an uncle, but I wouldn't give him permission to take her father's title when he is very much involved in her life. He told me if I loved him, I'd move for him. And despite me trying to tell him I do love him, he isn't listening. Am I the a-hole in this? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Sounds like you very clearly explained how things work in your world. Kudos for coming up with a unique parenting method that puts your daughter firmly as the most cherished outcome of your previous relationship. Your new boyfriend may not be compatible with your uniquely blended family. But of a red flag that he wants to appropriate the title of father, good on you for nipping that in the bud. Well done. Carry on without him if you can't get the brief. Even my ex-husband's wife doesn't get called mom or any variation of that. She is called by her name and when my daughter is feeling particularly affectionate, a nickname. So yeah, I wasn't going to let him be a father. Not day Hall since you were honest from the beginning. And your boyfriend's don't love me arguments seem to be his ego/insecurity speaking. Not gonna lie, but love the fact that you two put the love for your kid and her having some stability before your own egos and needs. Hope you have the strength and mental sanity to keep doing that, even if that would mean breaking up with your unreasonable boyfriend. Do him a favor and break up with him. He isn't going to be happy. You and your ex did this thing, and your ex is lucky you found someone who didn't have a problem with it. You may not be so lucky, but that is a chance you took doing this. It's hard to move on, and most people are not going to want to pursue a relationship with this kind of arrangement. That works for you and you're happy with it, then that's good. There is no way to compromise here. You aren't budging, so break up with this guy and let him go. Actually, I would argue that hopefully any emotional mature adult would see the beauty in this arrangement. Imagine getting involved with someone and you see firsthand how well they resolve such an issue, and how they are able to make an unusual decision that ends up being the best for everyone involved. Hope he sounds like a freaking catch to me. Not stay home. He knew what he was getting into. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for punishing my stepdaughter after she refused to remove the family-framed photo she put all over my house? I, male 37, have been with my wife for 2 years. I have a stepdaughter, Nancy. She's 16 and she's difficult. So difficult to deal with. She generally has little to no respect for me. She'd respond to me saying, "What do you want, weirdo?" Or, "I do this or that once you divorce mom and leave us alone." Honestly, I don't know what her freaking problem is, and I don't care at this point. I still, however, expect her to respect me and my house and my boundaries. Lately, I started seeing framed photos of her mom, and her dad being distributed around the house, like the living room shelf or the kitchen counter. I brought it up with her, and her first thought was, jealous much? Does it serve a constant reminder of the fact that you broke this family up? I have to admit, this pissed me off beyond measure. I told her to remove them because I didn't agree on having them around in my house, specifically not her dad. She acted nonchalant about my request and basically ignored me. I warned her that I'd remove them myself, and she blew up at me saying this is her family. This is a part of her life and I should respect that. I reminded her this is my home, and she should have some respect and stop leaving pictures of her happy family around, period. I encouraged her to take them to her dad's house instead. That would be more appropriate in my opinion. She kept arguing, then walked out while mumbling under her breath, MF her. I ended up punishing her, and then getting my wife removed the photos. My wife kept asking me to let the punishment go since the photos are no longer there. But I refused because Nancy hurts my feelings and disrespected me in my own home. She must have told her grandparents, who came after me even on social media crying abuse and mistreatment. And my wife has been acting like I started this, and that I'm the one at fault or the one who deliberately was looking for a fight. Info. Did you break up her family by having an affair with her mom? Either way, you're the a-hole. It's not your job to punish her. Respect goes both ways. Like it or not, she has a dad. And maybe you could have sat down and had a conversation about it and come up with a compromise. No, I did not break the family by having an affair. That is not what it was. As someone who got cheated on multiple times, cheating is a despicable act. You're the a-hole. Honestly, I don't know what her freaking problem is, and I don't care at this point. You're the adult, and you clearly don't want a relationship with your stepdaughter. Don't marry someone with a kid if this is your attitude. My house, my home. So, does Nancy not live here or what? My wife kept asking me to let the punishment go since the photos are no longer there. But I refused because Nancy hurts my feelings and disrespected me in my own home. Again, my home. It's clear from your language that you see Nancy as an irritation and not part of your life. Also, she hurts your feelings? Boo stinking who? Her whole life has been uprooted this last 2 years. Mom is allowing her daughter to be complete brat to assuage her own guilt of breaking up her own relationship with a father. That girl doesn't want a relationship with you because her mom has taught her to focus her anger and resentment on the outside offending party, you. So mama doesn't have to feel the guilt and wrath from her own daughter. In other words, mom is allowing you to be the scapegoat. However, don't make it worse on yourself by lashing out. It makes you look bad and further hurts all relationships. Everyone sucks here. Not stay home. First, for those folks, I'm assuming the teens that lurk around here, that think a step-parent can't punish a stepchild. Hell yes, they can. They're an adult that shares co-parenting responsibilities, not some squatter her mom is hooking up with. A step-parent can especially discipline a 16-year-old that is purposefully being a brat, cruel, manipulative, and trying to undermine her parents' authority. Calling an adult an MFer in their own home is never acceptable. In fact, her steady harassment and tactics with the photo is also abusive. Yes, mistreatment goes both ways. And just because she's a teenager doesn't let her off the hook because her feelings are hurt that her bio parents split up. She can be mad, and it's expected that she'll act out. But if this girl's behavior is as Opie describes it, well, that girl needs professional help at a new household. It doesn't matter if that relationship started out of infidelity, it's not any of her business. Also, Opie's wife needs to act like an adult and stop letting that kid run the house, and stand by her spouse. She sounds like she lacks a spine out of fear of hurting her kids' feelings. Everything about this suck, but Opie is definitely not the a-hole. Adults are allowed to have feelings and boundaries too. Am I the a-hole for favoring some of my nibbling over the ones that were made out of an affair behind my back? When I was 24, I experienced the biggest betrayal of my life. My ex-wife, Helen, had an affair with my brother, Jason. It wasn't just that I found out about the affair, but I also learned that the child I had been raising for almost 3 years wasn't mine. It was Jason's. We got divorced, and I made sure Helen was drained in the divorce. After the divorce, Helen and Jason got married, and I told Jason he was dead to me. I made it clear that whatever kids he had in the future would never be considered my family. Fast forward to now, Jason's oldest kid is 15. I don't interact with him or his other 3 siblings. I'm not rude to them, but I keep it civil at most. I won't lie, I favor my other nieces and nephews from my younger sister over Jason's kids. I take them out, buy them things, and genuinely enjoy spending time with them. I love them with all my heart, and I know they love me too. I'm not married and don't plan to be again, but I'm in a long-term relationship and have a well-paying job. Because of that, I can afford to spend on my nieces and nephews, and I don't hesitate to do so, within reason of course. Recently, I bought my nephew Tyler a new monitor and PC. He's really into gaming, and his whole setup was getting outdated, so I thought he could use an upgrade. A couple of days ago, I took him out, and when I went to pick him up, Jason and his family were there. I ignored Helen and Jason, said hi to my sister and the kids, and left with Tyler. When we got back, Tyler was, of course, excited and showing off the new gear. I could tell Jason's kids were jealous, but that's not my problem. Tyler went upstairs to set it up, and Jason and his family left. Later, my sister pulled me aside and asked if I could stop buying expensive stuff like that in front of Jason's kids, because it hurt their feelings. I told her that wasn't my issue. In the real world, they're going to see other people getting things they can't have, and they'll just have to deal with it. She accused me of punishing them for what Helen and Jason did, but I told her I wasn't. We went back and forth, with her asking if I was punishing innocent kids. I told her again that just because I wasn't spending money on them didn't mean I was punishing them. I got frustrated and told her if she was so worried, I could stop supporting her kids and give that money to Jason's kids instead. That shut her up, and I left. Later, she called me and said she just felt bad for them. She understood why I wasn't close to them, but mentioned how often Jason's kids ask why I hate them and why they can't have fun with me too. She asked me to at least consider building a relationship with them, even if I don't spend money on them. I don't understand why I should feel obligated. I don't owe them anything. They have 2 other uncles and 2 aunts, so it's not like they're deprived of family. Why should I force myself to spend time or money on kids that were born out of an affair? To me, that's all they are, especially the one I raised for 3 years. It's also infuriating that they only told me about the affair because Jason finally wanted to be a dad. What if he had never decided that, and I ended up raising another man's child for even longer? Now they expect me to put my feelings aside again? I already did that during the divorce, when my parents and siblings sided with Jason and Helen, just because she was pregnant. The only person who supported me at my lowest was my sister, the one here now. I know she means well, but I'm tired of this situation. That's why I'm here. I feel like a mess and just need some outside opinions. What do you think? Now for the top comments. Don't cut off your relationship with your sister or her kids. But tell her that if she doesn't want things to be awkward with Jason, Helen, or their kids, she should make sure you never run into them at her place. If they drop by unexpectedly when you are coming over, she should text you so that you can stay away. And she should tell her kids not to brag to their cousins about stuff you give them. Jason and Helen's kids should absolutely know the history of why you don't have a relationship with them. The 15-year-old in particular is old enough to understand. It won't be pleasant knowledge for them, but somebody needs to tell them that you don't just randomly hate them because of something wrong with them. Kids tend to assume the worst about themselves, and it's not fair to them to let them go on thinking they did something to alienate you. I'm not saying you should push yourself to have a relationship with them, but they deserve the truth in an age-appropriate way. So true. Kids often blame themselves when things are not right. Share the truth with them and let their parents explain what garbage they are to the kids. The fact that the kids are asking questions points to the truth coming out sooner or later. And that will hurt the kids even more, and it will be entirely their own fault. Not the a-hole. Your ex had a long-term affair with your brother and lied to your face daily the entire time she let you think the child you raised for almost 3 years was yours when it was his. Why in the world would anyone think you would want anything to do with your ex and your brother? And as there is no relationship with them, why would you have a relationship with your children? Yes, it is sad, but innocents are sometimes the victim of the poor decisions made by their parents. I wonder if your sister's husband came home, told her he was leaving her for her other sister, then had kids with her other sister. Would she run right out and have a loving relationship with those kids? Next story. Am I the a-hole for giving my son a down payment on a house but not my daughter? I have 2 kids, a son and a daughter. My son is a hard-working guy, been saving up for years, but he is struggling to get a house in today's insane market. My daughter, on the other hand, married a wealthy guy a few years back. Her husband's family is loaded, and they live in a big fancy house that, frankly, makes ours look like a shack. No shame, just reality. My son finally found a place he loves, but he was short on the down payment. My wife and I decided to help him out, give him some cash to make it happen. We're not talking millions here, just enough to get him over the line. He's super grateful, and honestly, it feels good to be able to do that for him. Now, my daughter heard about it and she's furious. She's accusing us of favoritism, saying that we never gave her any financial help like this. Thing is, we did help her a lot in the past. She was kind of a mess growing up, always getting in trouble, dropping out of college, even a stint in rehab. We spent a small fortune getting her life back on track, and when she married into money, we thought, great, she's set now. We're not exactly rolling in it ourselves, so helping her husband buy a 3rd vacation home is not on our list of priorities. Now she's telling everyone I'm playing favorites, and it's driving a wedge in the family. I don't think it's unreasonable to help my son get a house when he's starting from scratch, especially since we've already given her so much support over the years. So am I the a-hole here, or is my daughter just entitled? Not the a-hole. Tell her that you have supported them each financially in the way that they needed. She got rehab, and he got a house. Or ignore her and don't explain it at all, because you don't owe an explanation to a grown adult that's acting like a spoiled brat. She doesn't need help with a house, and her brother does. Why is that a problem for her? He's just helping his son get on his feet. His daughter is already well off, so it makes sense that his son would need more financial support at this point. They already helped her daughter through rehab and getting to her feet. My parents helped my siblings by guaranteeing both their home loans. For me, they gave me $10,000 for a home, as after retirement they disqualify as guarantors. They babysat thousands of hours for my siblings, for actual kids and pets over ongoing 20+ years. But I have asked maybe 100 hours in total for my cats over 4 years. Yeah, count out the total in both hours and dollars. Bet the daughter is up thousands. I'm in recovery and went to rehab 5 times. My family spent at least $100,000 desperately trying to get me sober. They've gone to family days at some of these rehabs and spoken to their other families. Some took out second mortgages on their houses and other drastic measures. It's expensive to get actual good treatment, in the US at least. Next story. Am I the a-hole for letting my ex and my kids' half-siblings be poor when I could help? I have an ex with whom I share 2 kids, 13 male and 12 male. Our relationship did not work out, and we broke up 7 years ago. Since I was the financially stable one, she wanted me to have full custody. I have had full custody ever since. She has visitation, but she only uses it intermittently. Quickly after the breakup, she started dating a guy with money. He is from overseas. She quickly got pregnant by the guy and they had a son. The guy did not want to raise someone else's kids, so she moved 3 hours away and completely stopped seeing our kids for almost 2 years. It turns out the guy's money was actually family money, and when his conservative family found out about my ex and the baby, they cut them off. Also, their son had some developmental issues. She got pregnant again, and a few months later, her boyfriend left and returned to his home country. She is now 6-ish months pregnant with no job and taking care of a special needs kid. She called me last week and asked me for financial help. They're living out of a motel and she is running out of money. I have a lake house about 30 minutes from her. She asked if she could stay there. I said no. She asked if I would send her money. I said no. She called me an a-hole. She said that I am letting my family suffer unnecessarily when I have the means to help. I told her I have no obligation to help, and we have been arguing ever since. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You have responsibilities to your kids, as did she. But she doesn't have custody, so let's say that's not part of this particular question. You do not have responsibility to your ex or any other kids she has. She can call you anything she wants. She's your ex. You can't facilitate visitation or anything else that's for the benefit of your 2 children. But it's more than reasonable to say no to anything else. She needs to chase the other kid's father or other family down for their support if she can. Correct. My ex has kids with a new person. I have no desire to meet them. My son occasionally interacts with them, which is fine. But I have no obligation or responsibility in that. They have 2 parents. I'm not one of them. Did she have second thoughts before leaving her own kids for another man? No. She was heartless, so then now she can't request anything. Have you ever contacted your lawyer when she moved and dropped contact with your kids? It might be a good idea. Protect your children from this on and off relationship. It's not heating emotionally. Basically was told that it is virtually impossible to remove visitation rights without some evidence of abuse. That might have been good advice at a time, but with a history of abandoning the children for 2 to 3 years, moving away, still not really actively pursuing visitation, etc., I would disagree that you can't have visitation dropped, especially if your kids aren't interested in seeing her. As you've indicated that you are financially stable, it would be worth consulting with an attorney. Protecting your biological children trumps all. Just my thoughts. The people who told me it was basically impossible are my attorneys. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to cancel my vacation after my brother demanded I pay for his emergency surgery instead? So here's the situation. I, 30 female, have been planning a 2-week vacation to Europe with my partner for the past year. We've both saved up a lot of money for this trip, and it's a big deal for us because we've never been on a major vacation together before. The flights, hotels, everything has already been paid for. Last week, my brother, 35 male, called me in a panic, saying he needs emergency surgery for a dental issue. It's not life-threatening, but his tooth infection is bad, and it needs to be dealt with soon. He doesn't have insurance due to lifetime of bad financial decisions, and the procedure is going to cost about $10,000. He asked me to loan him the money, but there's no way I have an extra $10,000 lying around after paying for this vacation. When I told him that, he got mad and said I should cancel my trip to help him, since family comes first. He even suggested I ask for refunds on the flights and hotels, as though that would magically solve the problem. I told him I felt bad for his situation, but I wasn't going to cancel a trip we'd been planning for a year over his poor financial choices, especially when this isn't a life-or-death situation. He lost it, called me selfish, accused me of abandoning him in his time of need, and got our mom involved. Now my mom is pressuring me to cancel and help him out, saying it's just a vacation and I can always reschedule. But I don't think it's fair that I should be expected to sacrifice something I've worked hard for because my brother can't handle his own responsibilities. Am I the a-hole? Is he lying about the cost to drain me of money or something? Now for the comments. And how much is mom contributing, since she's butting in? The dentist has payments planned too. Care credit is a thing, and I want to know what dental procedure costs $10,000 that deals in infections, because I've been through a load of dental procedures, and none of them came close to that amount. I used to be a dental assistant. There is no emergency that is $10,000. A tooth extraction with bone graft and implant don't cost anywhere near that much. My first thought was that this procedure isn't going to cost that much. My second thoughts was that bills from urgent dental procedures that aren't covered by insurance are usually sent to his home after the procedure is finished. Even hypothetically, if OP offered to pay, she could ask to see the bill/claim and pay the dental office directly. My third thought was that the brother probably would have demanded that OP pay him directly and not the dentist, which is a total BS because he doesn't need the money for a dental procedure. He chose a dental procedure because it's not like OP can open his mouth and check that the surgery actually happened. The money would be gone, and OP would have been funding another one of his crappy financial decisions. Not the a-hole, he's trying to scam you. Last story. Am I the a-hole for confronting my daughter-in-law about her constant lying and refusing to apologize? I, 56 female, have a son and things have been tense because of his wife, Emily, 28 female. I've noticed over the past year that Emily tends to stretch the truth or flat out lie about things, both big and small. At first, it was little things, like saying she couldn't come to family dinners because of work, only to post on social media that she was out with friends. Then it escalated to bigger things. One example that really bothered me happened recently. We were both supposed to attend a charity fundraiser. I was there the entire evening and never saw her. When I later asked if she had made it, she insisted that she had been there the whole time, and even said she saw me but was too busy to come say hi. This wasn't true. I know for a fact she wasn't there. The volunteers list was small and I definitely would have seen her. We are all in the same room. More recently, she lied about something involving a family event. We were planning a small gathering for my husband's birthday, and Emily told me she'd arranged a cake from his favorite bakery. The day of the party, she showed up empty-handed, claiming they lost the order. When I called the bakery to see what happened, they had no record of any order ever being placed. That was the last straw for me. I pulled her aside later and confronted her about her constant lying. I tried to be calm and respectful, but I told her that her dishonesty was starting to affect how I viewed her and that it was creating tension in the family. She literally messed up my husband's birthday with these lies. She completely denied it and got really upset, saying I was making her out to be a bad person and that I was overreacting. My son got involved and is now angry with me. The whole thing has caused a rift, and now Emily refuses to come to any family gatherings unless I apologize. I feel like I had every right to call her out, and I have nothing to apologize for. Not the a-hole. I could not tolerate that lying either. Apparently your son does tolerate it, or he's in denial. You may have to choose between being right and having a relationship with your son, unfortunately. I truly have no idea what he is doing. It's so obvious. I don't know how he doesn't see it. Have you had a conversation with him about it? Yeah, I did that before. He brushes it off, claims I am trying to start an issue.